Welcome back, everyone, to New Zealand Nationals 2020, well, technically 2022, but it's a 2021 version. So we've just had Tales of Aria draft.
Yeah.
And, oh man, I love this draft format. I absolutely love it. And now we've got a sort of fairly well-known, I feel, Wellington player, Kasharn Rao.
Yeah.
Maker of memes and top-notch player, playing none other than Oldhim, versus what a number of people think is kind of the boogie woman of the format in Briar. So what are some of the keys to this matchup, you feel?
So for limited, the Oldhim deck wants very powerful, very good blue cards, such as ice blue cards, earth blue cards, and the Guardian blue cards, such as like Snow Under, Mulch, etc.
Entangle, that kind of stuff.
Etc. So it's a threat late game, and it enables Titan Silver, which is your game plan. I think Oldhim is mostly just going to be attacking a weapon, and then on Briar's slower turns, maybe they'll play out a a red card that threatens. And then for Briar wants to set up and enable Rosetta Thorns as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Because in this format, Rosetta Thorn, the 2 arcane damage is sort of unpreventable. Maybe Oldhim gets around that a little bit, but you want Briar to have such as Bramble Sparks into a big attack into Rosetta Thorn, like those lines of plays where it's like overwhelms your opponent and your opponent's always leaking damage. Absolutely.
So for viewers who may be a little bit newer to the format, Rosetta Thorn, it's if you play a non-attack action and an attack action the same turn, the attack becomes, so the default is just 1 resource attack for 2 damage. If you play that non-attack and attack action, it also adds on 2 arcane, which is very, very strong in this kind of format. Now, one cool play you may see the players do as well is sometimes, for example, if the Briar player plays a non-attack action and an attack action, you may see the Oldhim player say an attack coming for 6, they may defend it fully for 6 and then use the Earth defense reaction ability of Oldhim. The reason they do this is it then puts up a 2 damage shield, so it can protect against the arcane damage coming through. So it's almost like a pseudo arcane barrier in a way, isn't it, sometimes?
It is.
And yeah, as Newson mentioned, Oldhim has access to some very powerful, those classic Guardian cards that cost 3 and they come in for 7. Things like Snow Under, for example, which fuse, can make a Frostbite if it on hit. Things like Entangle, as you mentioned earlier, which Earth fuse and gives the attack -2. And other things like Mulch, for example. The list goes on and on and on, doesn't it? As we can see the players, they're just putting out the equipment and drawing up. So we see Oldhim has what I believe that's a Coat of Ice as the chest and a Plume of Evergrowth for the helm, along with the Rotten Buckler, which I feel is a very important sort of piece of equipment in this matchup. Oh, and actually, sorry, just to say, there we see right on schedule, Snow Under for 7, coming down with the Ice Fuse card. I believe that's an Icequake it's being fused with.
Red Icequake, good follow-up for next turn.
One thing is here as well, sometimes you might be thinking, don't you want to just save some of these power cards later on because my opponent's just going to defend out, say, with 3 cards. But I think one thing, correct me if I'm wrong, Newson, is that Oldhim has access to this very powerful fatigue strategy in the format. So you might be thinking, well, it doesn't really do anything. But if you're trading 1 card for 3, that actually is quite significant late game, isn't it?
To be honest, it's really good in Limited because in Limited you don't have 3 of everything, right? So by forcing a Snow Under, he'll strip 3 cards from the Briar player, and those 3 cards could be power cards.
Actually, 2 Arcanic Shockwaves
and
and
a Lightning Surge.
And that's massive.
He might not have access to that anymore in the deck, right? So that's pretty massive.
That's 2 arcane damage just gone. That's not coming back. And as one of our viewers on Twitch has pointed out, by pitching that Glacial Footsteps to the bottom, you can kind of set that up for the late game as well.
Yeah, sure. Good.
So obviously, Glacial Footsteps has that fusibility of Dominate, and it's pretty hard to get through.
Yeah. Also, Zak's hand is not shabby at all.
Is that an Explosive Growth I think we see? So Explosive Growth has that, deals arcane damage, 1 arcane damage if you fuse, and your attacks this combat, this chain link gets +1 for each time you've hit.
Yeah, that's correct. But looking at Zak's hand, there is no Earth cards. So
we'll see what he's choosing to pitch here. So it looks like maybe a Weave Lightning. I think already we're seeing potentially an insight into. Okay, sorry, that was my mistake. That was a Bramble Spark and not an Explosive Growth. All right, so this looks like a powerful turn already.
Yep, so I believe he's going to play the Singeing Steelblade.
Singeing Steelblade, that's correct.
And then with that, I'll go again, and then dealing 2 arcane, attacking for 4, and then follow up by Rosetta. Not a shabby turn off.
Yeah,
it does give up his arsenal, but I feel like that's fine. It's a very...
Yeah, so we see the, unfortunately Center was not able to, I believe, fuse that Bramble Spark, but when you deal 2 arcane damage, you're coming in for 7, and plus you know the Rosetta Thorn's coming up after that. I think that is the absolute last thing Kasharn probably wanted to see on turn 1.
It's lucky it's not fused, or that's it will be coming in for 7, and then but then he does waste a Weave Lightning because there's no cards will get the benefits.
That's a good point actually. That was my mistake. I missed it there. So that's just coming in for 4, isn't it?
Yeah, it's coming in for 4. 4 and 2, and 1 arcane from Bramble and 1 arcane from Singing Spellblade, and then comes a Rosetta.
Okay,
2
so
arcane.
That's 2 arcane coming down.
Oh, so
there we go.
6 damage.
There we go, and just like that, the life totals are 20 to 14.
And Zak has 2 Embodiment of Earths.
Which makes it very difficult to sort of on the swing bat, doesn't it? And just to remind everyone as well, New Zealand and Australian nationals are playing under the exemption from the bans and erratas.
Well, here we go, Icequake. Good start. And coming in, so this will be coming in for 7. It never hits.
Looks like there's no frost pitch here, so... Oh wait, but it's still getting the frostbite from the Icequake, isn't it?
This ain't Winter's Whale carrying
That's a good point.
It's not classic constructed yet.
I'm stuck in Mr. Classic mode. Okay, so I mean that's pretty good for having taken all that damage. You know, Icequake, one of the few sort of non-attack actions that actually work on the weapons as well.
Yes.
And we're really seeing it come through here.
This combo is kind of a build your own Winter's Whale kind of.
Absolutely. And we can see Kasharn's deck, it's looking pretty strong. I believe that may be a yellow or red Snow Under going down, and he's also pitched a mulch, so he's really, it seems like he's prioritized those 3 cost or more cards to turn on that Titan's Fist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now, the one issue for Kasharn is with taking all that damage to turn 1, I feel it's really given the Briar player, Zak here, a lot of flexibility to pick and choose the spots.
Yeah, 100%. So, Zak is probably thinking right now, which 2 cards to defend with.
Yeah, because if he does have a non-attack action and he's able to defend this out like a clean defense with 2 cards, I feel Zak's going to be pretty happy. So it's...
Oh, that's a 3rd Arcanic Shockwave.
Wow,
God.
so... Okay, so I feel honestly that Kasharn's going to be pretty happy with how this turned out. After taking a lot of damage on turn 1, he's managed to even up the life totals a little bit and get a Frostbite down, which can be very frustrating for Briar at times, depending on their hand.
Yep.
But I imagine Zak's a man with a plan here, like he wasn't in that for nothing.
So Explosive Growth, Veil of Flash, and Bramble Spark. Oh.
Are we going to see a fuse this time? Okay, so no fuse on this occasion. Oh, so we see a Veil of Flash come down? Okay. So the Veil of Flash, it seems here, due to the sort of force block, that's not going to have go again, because it doesn't look like there's something to trigger its ability. So Veil of Flash is you are able to play a non-attack action at instant speed, which can be very handy at times. Just being able to play a non-attack action with go again to give you an action point.
Yeah. What color is that, Kieran? Is that
I believe it's a red Veil of Flash coming through here. So if I'm not mistaken, it's coming through for 5.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we see the Summerwood Shelter come down, I believe.
I believe that's the yellow.
Yep, so that's
Given
been
plus
defended out.
+3.
Now I wonder if at some point in the game, okay, so there we see again, now that's, I believe, a red Entangle just coming down for 7.
Are you sure it's red, Kieran? It looks blue to me.
Okay, so we're having a little bit of trouble seeing the color, but it is an Entangle coming out, coming down for some damage here. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, Newson, is the Code of Frost here. So, do you feel, is Kasharn sort of saving this for a turn where he might have a bit of an off turn and he just wants to disrupt his opponent a little bit?
Yeah, so when Kasharn, say, has to defend with 4 cards, right? And then usually you just pass your turn.
Yep.
Sometimes he would choose to use Code of Frost, give him for Frostbite. Hopefully it disrupts his opponent enough so he can last another turn.
Yeah, absolutely, because again, it seems very powerful at times where every resource matters, particularly with Briar, can be the difference between a Rosetta Thorn or not.
Yep.
Also things like Bramble Spark and with fusing, it can actually really disrupt your hands a little bit sometimes.
That's correct.
Okay, so we're seeing Zak is thinking pretty carefully about this one, which is totally reasonable, because I feel these games, particularly in things like Limited when you only have 20 life, these games can get away from you very quickly.
We've just got like 3 pints of power.
Okay, I believe you may be correct, and that was a blue entangle, but...
Oh no, Karen,
you're
correct.
Please never doubt me again. So the Inspire Lightning, of course, defending for 3 here due to the embodiment of Earth. And so that was defended for 5 in total. So here we see the power of Oldhim. I feel like Kasharn has just really brought himself back into this match after that really difficult turn 1 to navigate. Yeah, we can see our viewers mentioning there was potentially another line there where you could pitch and come in for 4 with the hammer, and then Arsenal the So Tomorrow, but see what's happening here. So it's coming in with the rights for replenishment. There's no fuse, so that's just sort of a vanilla attack here.
It's coming for 6 though.
Yeah, if it is a red copy, it looks like it will be coming for 6, so that will, likely strip 2 cards from Kasharn's hand. I feel what we're seeing here is a bit of a pattern of both players just sort of, trying to feel out the opponent here, see what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of not really committing mass amounts of cards. They just sort of trying to strip cards from each other's hand, so they are able to pick their own spot to push a lot of damage.
Correct. So yeah, Kasharn blocks of So Tomorrow and pitches Amulet of Earth and takes 2. Oh, here we go. The hammer plan, but this will only be coming for 3.
Yeah, just coming for 3, and it will not be making a frostbite, as Newson kindly pointed out to me earlier. So I think both players are playing this, we describe it as somewhat conservatively so far, just sort of maintaining the life totals, and obviously there is quite a lot on the line. Both these players are 3-0, and if you go 4-0, that's a long, long way towards making the top 8 at this event. So
if you go 4-0, you're almost halfway to going undefeated.
That's true.
For day 1.
And it looks like 6-3 will guarantee you to make day 2. Okay, so we see Zak certainly just sort of vying up what to defend with here. Because it's one of those things, I feel there's sometimes no worse feeling, particularly in things like Sealed or Draft, where you decide, you know what, I can just take 3, and then you end up with like cards in hand you can't use, or they disrupt your plan with an Ice React or something, and suddenly that 3 damage really comes back to bite you, really limits your flexibility in the mid to late game.
I've definitely had those moments. So defending with Invigorate,
so that's
which defends for 3?
Yes, because of the embodiment of Earth.
Alright.
So Kasharn's got that card down into Arsenal, so it's going to be operating off a potentially 5-card hand next turn.
Oh, another Bramble Spark.
Another Bramble Spark. So I'm starting to get the impression, Zak's playing one of those Briar decks where it's just sort of ping you down with like, a death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing.
Ooh, Stir of the Wildwood with a Bramble Spark. That's a real good combo.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's not fused, or it'd be better, but
it still looks like that's coming then, even if that's a blue one, it's coming in for at least 6, I believe, with a +2 from the Bramble Spark. And we'll see what Kasharn's looking at. Now, also...
I don't think the Bramble Spark was fused here.
Oh no, but just for the arcane damage.
Arcane damage,
They were just stealing. So, one thing I wanted to ask you as well, Newson, is here, I feel, is Kasharn's game plan here going to be influenced quite heavily by the fact that he's aware that he can't drop below a certain life total because then he just gets destroyed by arcane damage, which is effectively unblockable.
Yes, so normally in Oldhim play you want to be ahead of life, just so you can soak the leaking damage you get, and then you wait till Briar's end turn. But right now, I feel like Kasharn is
doing a pretty good job.
Doing a pretty good job, but I think from now on he will start defending more and start to fatigue the Briar player.
Because you don't want to get caught in that trap, do you, of sort of trading damage and then just getting sort of blown out by arcane at the end of the game.
That's correct.
Yeah, I feel so. Okay, so he's
2, and then using Oldhim, taking 1.
Taking 1. So we may have just slightly miscounted the.
I believe it was taking for 5 with 1 arcane.
Right, my apologies. I mixed up the
the
attack on that one there.
Sorry, Ken. Ooh, draws another Arcanic shot.
That That's probably the fourth arcadic shockwave as well. So
here we go. Build your own winter swale.
Build your own winter swale. Here we go. So there we go. I feel these are really a lifeline at the moment, aren't they, for Kasharn? Just these icequakes coming through and really kind of forcing Zak to react in a little bit. But yeah, I think Kasharn, you know, obviously you'd always like to be on a high life title, but I think even if he was on sort of, you know, 12-ish life here, he'd be feeling a little bit more comfortable.
Definitely would.
I think that early turn where Zak was able to punch through a fair amount of arcane damage has really kind of put Kasharn on the back foot for the rest of this.
That's correct. At least Kasharn still has his rotten old buckler.
Exactly. And it does have access to the Code of Frost as well, which may come through. Those two embodiments of Earth also, you know, I'm just trying to see if we can see if there's any non-attack action in Zak's hands, so we'll see what's going on.
It looks like he has a flash.
Okay, so we may see the flash is also very strong for turning on something like Rosetta Thorn. I feel just be able to give you that extra additional action point.
And I can't really see the last card.
All right, it's a bit of a mystery to us all. Okay, so yeah, really thinking about this block. I imagine what he potentially is thinking here is something like, how much damage can I push through if I sort of utilize this flash and non-attack action in hand? You know, is it worth it to potentially take 5 or 6 damage here? And he is.
And he is. Oh.
Okay, so the frostbite comes down. So I feel this is a real turning point in the game right here. I feel this is the critical turn.
Yeah.
Because if Zak isn't able to push a lot of damage back here, then that might really give Kasharn an opening to even try close out the game.
100%. Here we go, flash.
Okay, so we're just going to assume that the color will match up with whatever he's trying to do here. Actually, one thing, he needs to...
Yeah, I think he's thinking about it.
Yeah, perfect.
Pitching a blue. So this Arcanic Shockwave fused. We'll have go again and deal 1 arcane damage.
Yep, so that's
good. So even if he gets iced at this point, because he has the 2 flowing and he's met the requirements for Rosetta Thorn.
He's got the Rosetta, doesn't he? So we assume that you know, Kasharn's going to have that in mind as well. It really depends how much he's able to defend out here. So we see the Entangle come down to defend against the Arcanic Shockwave.
So it must have been a yellow. Or is he going to use the old Ragamuffins? Ooh, yep. Draw a card. I think he drew Veil of Flash. And he has to put 1 back to the bottom or top.
Interesting here, because I believe that may have been a blue shock strike because he had in hand, so he probably a little bit hesitant to arsenal it, which is totally fair.
They probably wanted a red card.
Yeah.
For the following turn.
And if that's a red Valor Flash, that's really going to help out. Okay, so now we see the Rosetta Thorn coming in.
So yeah, so this will drop Kasharn to 6.
Yep, so that's definitely coming through with the 2 arcane. Now it'll be interesting to see, I know some Oldhim players like to pick things like Red Rejuvenate, particularly for the Briar matchup. They work very well with defense reactions and also just really help getting you sort of grinded out by that constant arcane damage.
Yep.
Now I think one thought here for Kasharn is he kind of looking to turn the corner a little bit here and just take all the damage?
Oh,
yeah, he is.
Dropping himself to 4, that's very dangerous against Briar, yeah.
I wonder if we might potentially see a Code of Frost here followed up by a big attack, something to just really ensure that, I feel, okay, he's looking at it, I wonder if Kasharn's kind of thinking here, look, if I have 1 or 2 big turns, that might be enough to close it out.
Yeah. As you said, he's activating Code of Frost.
I think I saw he had a Glacial Footsteps in hand as well. Okay, no, so it's just the Oldhim's Touch coming down this time for 7. So that will strike at least one card. Now we do see the Plume of Evergrowth, but it seems there aren't
enough resources.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit tight for resources mode. Might be a little bit, I'm not sure if there's sort of a premium card he's looking to take back at the moment as well. So we'll just have to see how he looks to that one. Now, if that is a Valor Flash in Arsenal, which I believe it is, then that could really be quite difficult for Kasharn to deal with, particularly if he's got one of those non-attack actions that go again.
Yes, but I don't see a lightning card in Zak's hand, so I don't think that would be happening this turn.
That's true. He would need to fuse with it.
Yeah. Oh no, he does have a lightning card here. I think is that a shock striker?
Could be. So we'll have to see how Zak wants to approach this turn. But I think this is very much a nervous moment for Kasharn here.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things, if they defend with one card, you're going, ooh, I hope I can survive. Now I feel what's going through Zak's mind is here, it's like, potentially do I defend with one card and, drop down a little bit of life, or do I just maintain this flexibility that I've built up over the course of the game? Perhaps defend with 2 cards, take 1, and even just come with 1 big attack next turn, getting rid of the Frostbite, and just try and set something up quite big. I feel one concern, having seen Kasharn pitch Glacial Footsteps earlier in the game, that he might be thinking, I don't want to find myself in a spot where I have an off turn and then cannot deal with a dominated Glacial Footsteps.
Yes, that's correct. It's very scary to leave your opponent with 4 cards.
I think that was an Inspire Lightning. He plus that, so he's defending for 6 here, taking 1. So he is choosing just to keep that life total pretty healthy at the moment.
Yep. So 4 plays 6.
And we have a very, very close game here. So we'll just see how Zak wants to approach this turn. Unfortunately, we can't quite fully see what's in his hand here.
I think that's a Rejuvenate, Kieran.
It is Rejuvenate? Okay, so one option he has open to him is he doesn't have enough cards to fuse, actually. So
I think he's noticing that now, to be honest.
Yeah, that he can't fuse and play at instant speed.
Yes.
Because if he had kept the Inspire Lightning, for example, he may have been able to play both of those. Okay, so choosing just to play the vanilla, so to speak, Valor Flash here.
Actually looks like a blue one. Oh.
Now, I'm not quite sure about that reveal there, because it's not. It feels like it's giving information to the Oldhim player for free.
Yes, by doing that, he knows what's in
the arsenal.
What's in Zak's arsenal and can just play around it. And because you can't enable Valor Flash's ability this turn, there was really no need to fuse it.
Also, because you might want to put some bit of uncertainty for things like Lightning Press, for example, as well, which could potentially be lethal.
Oh, he did an Arsenal, the Shock Striker.
So maybe, like I say...
Oh, Winter Spire.
Oh, that's powerful. Oh. That's really good. Like I say, I hate to second guess the players there, but that may have been sort of a minor misstep, I think, on behalf of Zak. Just the revealing of that card in that instance.
Yes.
Oh, so back-to-back Winter Spire. I believe those are...
Oh, the first one's a red. Kieran.
Right, and the second one's yellow. So this is just...
It's dropping 2 cards.
This is good, because I feel this is really buying Kasharn some time.
Yeah.
Particularly if he's able to follow this up with a reasonably big attack to strip at least one or two cards.
Oh, he didn't attack. He just activated 2 Winter's Bite.
Okay. I mean, he may have something big in hand that... Oh, okay, so we see another Singeing. I believe that's a yellow.
Is that 1 Arcane?
So there may be an option, you'll be really living on the edge doing this, but there is the option just to defend with the Buckler. But that's that might be keeping it too real.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just see the 1-card block here. Now I think this is Kasharn's chance, right? He's got 3 cards in hand and a card in arsenal. His opponent's only got 1 embodiment on 6 life. I feel he really, really wants to strip sort of at least 2 cards here.
There is.
Or the Glacial Footsteps. Does he have the fuse? Okay. I was like, is he going to slow roll us here? But that is coming in for 9, I believe. If that's a yellow.
10. I think it's a red.
Okay, so coming in for 9 or 10.
10, yeah. So it's still a big attack.
That's huge. That's absolutely massive here. Now, I think we can sort of see why. What I'm suspecting is that Kasharn's last card in hand might be another red, because he didn't attack with weapon the previous turn. So I think we're seeing Kasharn try to string together, just a few big plays to get out of this game alive. Yeah. I've actually really enjoyed the sequencing from both players this game as well.
It's been a very exciting limited game.
Yeah, Zak has done it really well to turn on his Rosetta, and we've seen Kasharn really weather the storm with that early arcane damage to come back and just throw some of those heavy hitters down. So we can see on Zak's side he's got that Ball Lightning and I believe something, maybe a Heaven's Claw in hand. So we'll see how that goes for him. But I feel if you're on Kasharn's side of the table here, you're kind of thinking you really want to get away with blocking with 1 card next turn, and then setting up that 3 cards plus Arsenal card to maybe try close out the game here.
That's correct. Oh, yep.
Okay, so it's defended fully. Now, one question will be interesting to see.
Oh, so what was the red, Kieran?
It was you're correct. Yeah. It will be interesting if he Arsenals or plays the Ball Lightning as in hand here, because Ball Lightning's incredible at turning on Rosetta Thorn. But he does decide to play it.
So it's the yellow one.
I think that is fair in the circumstances for sure. Yep. Because you really just don't want to leave Oldhim with like a full hand.
And you want to try and get a embodiment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, another Arcanic Shockwave. Oh, okay, another Glacial.
So here we see that may have been the one that was pitched early as well. So here we see Kasharn's really sort of taking this game by the
horns. And look what he pitched. And again, another Glacial Footsteps.
Glacial Footsteps MVP. Kasharn, I think maybe said to himself, look, I'll, weather the early storm, and now we're going to play some flesh and blood.
Yeah, taking for 10 every turn.
Must be nice.
Pretty rough.
It's just as you mentioned, we see some of these blue pitch cards that he's pitching to the bottom, that when it comes to sort of the late game, which we're quickly approaching, well, we are in the late game right now, these become very, very powerful, particularly at Glacial Footsteps.
Like a blue Glacial Footsteps attacks for 8.
Such an incredible card. Turns on your Titan's Fist, can come with Dominate, can just strip a whole number of cards. I think what we were talking about earlier, the power of this card is you don't need to dominate it.
Yeah.
It's great for closing out a game, but if this strips another 3 cards, I mean, we can't see how many cards left.
Look, stripping 4.
Wow. So we may have seen a few 2 blocks in there. Yep, we did.
Yeah, two free blocks.
We can't quite see how many cards left in each player's deck, but I feel like they might be starting to get a little light. And when you're defending with 3 or 4 cards a turn, it starts to disappear pretty quickly.
Let's see if...
I'm going to see another Glacial. But I think we're seeing some really good pitch stacking from Kasharn here to set these things up. I think that was the Red Snyder that may have been pitched early in the game as well. And this is an incredibly powerful attack because it hits that breakpoint of 7. There's no embodiments down. And we've got it fused, so there is a Frostbite coming down if it's not able to be defended fully.
That's correct. And so, I feel like Zak cannot be defending forever because by doing that, he's fatiguing himself. He'll run out of cards and...
And you could sort of give the Oldhim player infinite time to draw back into that Glacial to win the game, don't you? You don't want to get stuck in the sort of death spiral, I like to call it sometimes, where you just have to defend, and you never get out of it. And
you eventually lose, right?
Yep,
so choosing to take 2.
Already down to 3 life and a Frostbite. Frostbite, in fairness, may not be super relevant here.
Yeah. I believe he has a blue...
I think Zak...
Pitching Force of Nature.
He needs to break the cycle here with some sort of big attack, and... That's not bad. I think that's coming for 5 if that's a yellow burgeoning.
That's an explosive growth.
Oh, okay. So that's an explosive growth.
So
that's why I'm an organised player and you still develop it. Okay, so that's coming in for, that's pinging for at least 1 arcane damage.
And attacking for 2. Is
two,
it
I
yellow?
believe?
Attacking for 2, I believe, yeah. Still lethal.
Still lethal, still representing lethal damage.
Still 1 card.
Yeah, and Kasharn is probably starting to get a little bit concerned here because now he needs to continually strip at least 2 cards from Zak's hand because Rosetta Thorn, you know, barring some sort of Earth React style play from Kasharn, the Rosetta Thorn is going to be very, very difficult.
I think Zak is down to his last 4 cards.
Is he? Okay, now that is interesting. So we may have just seen, okay, there's the Earth React to prevent that damage. And is he down to 1, 2... Okay, sorry, I don't need to count how many cards he's drawing, but I think you might be right. It might be down to 1 of the last few cards in deck. Okay, so this is going right down to the wire. I think that Entangle's only coming in for 5 here, though.
5 fused.
So that could potentially be stopped with a 1-card block.
Yes.
Which is very, very scary, I feel, if you're Kasharn looking at the life totals here. I mean, obviously the fuse is important, but it's more kind of the arcane damage that he has to deal with here.
Zak knows the arcane damage is going to lead him to victory, so fusing the entangle isn't much of a big thing. So I think he is going to defend with rejuvenate
and
take 2. Go to 1.
Go to 1. Okay.
And I see that Zak has a bramble spark and a singeing, so that is 2 arcane. Maybe Zak will get there. So Bramble Spark, Pitch, Singeing, and 2 arcane.
And that might be it. Has he pulled the rabbit out of the hat here? Because it felt like Kasharn might be able to get there, but I'm not sure what he can do here.
Excellent. Yeah, I noticed Zak was pitching
stacking
as well. I think for the certain mate.
And that's it, that's game.
Oh man.
Ooh, that was a great one. Winning with 1 card in deck. It felt like, to me, there were a couple of turning points in this game, but one of the early ones was just that early turn where Zak managed to get through about 4 arcane damage, just to immediately put Kasharn on the back foot. I thought Kasharn did very well to do sort of build your own wind as well, as you said, to keep himself back in the game. But unfortunately, I think on that last turn where he needed to push the damage, he fell just short.
I think if Kasharn used his Royal Buckler,
ooh, that might come back to burn him a little bit.
Might have actually secured him the win.
True.